Thank you. Hi friends, welcome to another video. Today we are going to be filming something that I have been looking forward to filming since I started that channel, and that is a TBR jar video. Now, if you don't know what that is, this is almost like a staple of booktube. And the gist of it is that I wrote out about 60 prompts and I'm going to choose them randomly out of a jar, and those prompts will help me decide which books I pick for the month of February. Hi buddy. You can't see it, but I have a little friend. Say hi, Cheetah. He had to be all up in my business. Today, I am planning on picking 8 books for my February TBR. As I may have mentioned to you guys before, my reading goal for 2025 is to read 100 books, which means I have to read about 8.3, I think, books per month in order to reach that goal. So most months I will be reading 8 books, but there will be a few months where I have to read 9 books. And considering that February is a shorter month, I decided that 8 was probably a much safer number for February. Now, I may or may not get to all of those books. I may only get to 5 or 6 of those, but then finish the 8 on Kindle Unlimited or audiobook with books that I already own on those platforms. But the goal is to read as many as possible and to have a blast picking them out. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. I do not have an official TBR jar, but I do have this really cute cup from Anthropology, which I'm going to be using as my TBR jar. You guys can see I already put the prompts in the little jar. Believe it or not, this is 60 prompts. It took me like an hour to come up with all these prompts, write them all down, and cut them up in these little strips of paper. And I just feel like this is just not very much to show for all my hard work, but this is 60. So we're just gonna go from here. So without further ado, let's pick 8 books for February. All right, it's the first pick for the February TBR. Has mountains on the cover. Mountains on the cover. I don't know, do I have? The first prompt, and I may not actually have anything for it. Do I seriously not have any books with mountains on the covers? Why did I write this prompt if I don't have any books with mountains on the covers? Okay, well, first prompt, complete bust. Have no books with mountains on the cover that I can see. I'm just gonna do a quick scroll on my Goodreads tag for my physical TBR to make sure that I am not missing something. This is not looking promising. Yeah, I don't think I have any. Yep, complete bust. Let's try that again. Author's last name is also a first name. Let's see. Okay, I found one. Have a couple options actually, which is cool. So there are several options. The first one is Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I have 2 books by her. I have The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and then One True Loves, I think is what it's called. So that's the first option. We also have Kristen Hanna, and I have 2 books by her as well, The Nightingale and then Magic Hour. And then of course there's Emily Henry, and I have pretty much most of her books I have not read. Lastly, there's Julie Berry with Lovely War. I'm tempted to read Emily Henry just because I had such a good time with Funny Story that I want to jump back into her writing again. But if I want to prioritize books that are on my 25 books to read in 2025 list, either Lovely War, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, or The Nightingale. I think I'm gonna go with Lovely War by Julie Berry for multiple reasons. This is a historical fiction book. I'm kind of in the mood for historical fiction, but also February is the month of Valentine's Day, so I feel like this is a little bit themed with it being a book that is an Aphrodite's point of view. It kind of fits a little bit well. So this will be our first book for February. Time for our second prompt. A debut novel. Okay, how do I figure this out? Oh, There by Tommy Orange. That's a debut novel, but I don't own that right now. Okay, so except for There. Oh, The Martian by Andy Weir. I also don't own that one though. I'm trying to do the ones that are already on my TBR. I'm going to order There, and that is going to be my pick for this second prompt. Time for book number 3. All right, published in the 1800s. All right, time for a classic. So after a little bit of research, I don't have very many options of books that I already own that were published in the 1800s. So what I do have is a Jane Austen novel. And the one that I decided to go with is Persuasion, published in 1817, I think, or 1816. So this is the 3rd book for February. A book with a 1-word title. Okay, this one might be easy. Okay, hopefully my camera doesn't die. I just had to plug it in. This filming process for this video has been slightly chaotic. I have books that I've pulled from the shelves that are all around me, most of which I'm not even going to read. They're just books that I pulled off and haven't bothered to put back on the shelf yet. I have a couple options for books with one word title, and all three of them are fantasy. So here we go. The first option is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This is a very popular young adult fantasy series where this really crazy circus, I think, comes to town, and you have to have a special ticket, and they're super rare to get. And this one girl's sister gets a ticket, but then she ends up going missing, and so then her sister has to go and find her and maybe participate in the Caraval in some way in order to get her sister back. From what I understand, this is set in the same universe as Once Upon a Broken Heart, though Once Upon a Broken Heart comes after the Caraval trilogy. So I am excited to read this one so I can also jump into Once Upon a Broken Heart later on, maybe this year or maybe early next year. So that's the first option. The second book is Forbidden by Ted Dekker. Now, I've only had this book for a couple months, but it's not necessarily a new book. It was published in like 2010 or something like that, so definitely an older series. But I have read so many books by Ted Dekker, and I haven't read one in, gosh, probably 7 or 8 years at least. So I'm curious to get back into some of his work and see if he's as good as I remember him being. This is the first one in the Books of Mortals series. And then lastly, one that I'm a little bit intimidated to even show you guys, that is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It is absolutely no secret that Brandon Sanderson is one of the most famous and best fantasy authors of our time. His Mistborn trilogy is one of the most famous and beloved series of all time. So I'm excited to get into this, but again, it's a little bit intimidating just because jumping into the Brandon Sanderson universe seems like a really big step. But as someone who loves fantasy, it's definitely something that I need to try to get into. So these are the three options. You know what? I think I have to do it. This is for you. You know who you are. Doing this for you. I'm choosing Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. It's time to jump into new kinds of fantasy. So that's 4. We're halfway there, people. This has taken a little bit longer than I expected it to take, honestly, but there's been a lot of malfunctions as well. They're all stuck together. It's hard to get just one. A memoir. Alrighty. I think I'm probably going to do Dolly by Dolly Parton. I think she has multiple memoirs actually, but this is My Life and Other Unfinished Business by Dolly Parton. It was published in the 80s, maybe the 90s. I don't remember. I think I'm going to choose this one because it's one of the 25 books I want to read in 2025. Honestly, I am making amazing progress on this 25 books I want to read in 2025. I thought that I was going to not be picking these up right away, but I have read 2 in January, and with choosing this book, that's 3 in February that I'm going to be reading. Like, I'm making pretty good progress in this in the first couple months of the year. So that is exciting, but I think I'm going to go with Dolly for this one. I want like maybe a mystery or something. Come on, unstick. All right, let's see what it says. This says, author's last name is 3 letters. Okay. Oh, Lee, Harper Lee. The first one is Jade City by Fonda Lee. I have no idea what this series is about, but it is a trilogy and it is a fantasy series, and I'm so excited to get into it, but I'm not sure I want to start another fantasy series because that would be like my 3rd or 4th one that I will have started in 2025, and I haven't made progress in like any other series yet. Maybe I need to film another finishing series that I'm in the middle of one so that I can cross some of these off. Anyway, this is the first option. Go Set a Watchman by Harper Lee. This is the sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird. Wow, I forgot the name there for a second. This is an option, and this one would finish a series, so maybe I should choose this one. Honestly, I think I'm gonna go with Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman just because I want to finish the series. 2 more. Let's see what we got. Highest rated. So how I'm going to figure this out, I'm not going to guess. I actually created a physical TBR tag on my Goodreads, which if you don't follow me on Goodreads, then you can. Link is in the description. So I can go to that tag and I can rank them from highest to lowest with the average rating, and we can go from there. Okay, so the highest rated book on my Goodreads tag for my physical TBR is Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, which is the last book in the Red Rising series that is out so far. Now, I am not on this book. I'm on Iron Gold, so I still have 2 very, very chunky books before I can get to this one, so I cannot do that one. But the next highest one on the list is The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. Okay. Another one of the 25 books that I want to read in 2025 added to my February TBR. This is going to be a crazy month of reading if I get all of these done. My goodness. This pile is looking quite chunky and a little bit intimidating. Last Prompt has a place in the title. Okay, I don't know if I actually have one. Man, I wish I hadn't already read The Secret Garden. That would have been a good one. Okay, I have several options and most of them are classics and a little bit of a bend on the actual prompt. The first one is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Now, I am filming this a little bit before January ends. It's close to the end of January, but I'm already planning on trying to listen to this book on audio before the month ends, so this can be my 8th book for January. So I'm a little hesitant to pick it up for February because I think I might already be done by the time February starts. So that's an option, but probably not going to choose it. Then we have Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. I don't remember what this is about. I used to know what it was about. Okay, so this is set in the time of the Civil War. And then there's Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I tried to read this one when I was like 12 and it was just way too boring for me. I could not get into it, but it's time to try it again. So that's an option as well. And then the last one, and honestly the one I'm leaning towards, is When in Rome by Sarah Adams. This is a contemporary romance book and it's teeny tiny. It is not very long at all. And honestly, I think this is the one I'm going to choose because it's a contemporary romance and I don't have any contemporary romance on this list, and I kind of feel like I'm going to need something that is kind of light and fluffy and easy to read in the middle of these more heavy books like The Nightingale, Go Set a Watchman, Mistborn, Persuasion. Yeah, I think I'm going to need something that's a little easier to read and it'll lighten up the mood a little bit. So I think I'm going to choose When in Rome. And this is not based in Rome, Italy. This is based in Rome, Kentucky. This is about a girl whose name is Amelia, and she is some sort of famous singer and she's a little bit burned out, and so she hops in her car and starts driving and her car breaks down in this little tiny town called Rome, Kentucky, in front of this guy's shop. And I think he owns a pie shop and I think he has an extra room in his house, so he's like begrudgingly letting her stay there, but he doesn't necessarily want her there, and then they end up falling in love, blah blah blah. Okay, that is going to be the last book that I choose. So these are all my books for February. Honestly, I had so much fun making this video, both making the prompts and picking them out and trying to find books that match the prompt. It's just a really fun way to pick what you're reading. I see why so many people decide to choose their monthly TBRs this way. So again, I don't know if I'm going to get to all of these books, but I'm going to try to get to as many as possible, and I will let you guys know how they are going and how I like them. And there is one more. Remember, there's one more missing from this stack, and that is There by Tommy Orange. It will be added once it arrives. I have to order it. These are all of the books. I hope you guys had a great time watching me pick what I was going to read in February. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these books and how you like them and what is on your February TBR. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.